college football news coming at you with another episode, and it's very important, the bell notification of the utmost importance to comment down below, like and subscribe to the channel. As we can see, only 0.5% of this audience is subscribed, 99.5% unsubscribed. You're better than that. I'm better than that. Let's change that. Big things happening in the college football world. Me personally, $50,000 to $100,000 is being offered, and then you're not paying. Ohio State needs $13 million in NIL money to keep its current roster. 22 players transfer out of Texas A&M, and as Georgia, the defending champions, being overlooked and undervalued. We'll dive into all that here in a minute, but first we're going to take a look at our bowl predictions. And in the college football playoff, we got the second-ranked Michigan Wolverines and the Fighting Jim Harbaughs taking out the Hopping Horned Frogs. Down there in the Fiesta Bowl, Air Force taking out Ballard. Wake Forest beating Missouri, a very bad Missouri team. Wisconsin in the upset as Oklahoma State's quarterback is left. We're picking them. UCF, we're going to take the top Duke. Kansas, we're going to take to tip over of hot starting with fizzling Arkansas. Oregon over North Carolina. Mississippi and the Fighting Lane Kiffins taking out Texas Tech. And Minnesota, and rolling the boat, is going to roll the boat all the way through whatever putrid bowl game they're in. Florida State's going to take out a horrible Oklahoma in a very bad season for a first-year head coach. Washington's going to beat Texas. Maryland's going to bop out North Carolina State. UCLA is going to pimp off Pittsburgh in the Sun Bowl. Notre Dame takes out South Carolina, and Clemson in the Orange Bowl, literally the Orange Bowl, takes out Tennessee. Kansas State, to piss off all the Alabama fans, takes them out of there. Iowa over Kentucky. Georgia over Ohio State in the other college football playoff in the Peach Bowl. And Mississippi State takes out the Fighting Illini along with LSU. And then the easiest game to pick in the bowl season, the Utah Utes are going to win their first ever Rose Bowl behind Kyle Whittingham, behind a bobbling and stumbling and bumbling worst
right
big
along
game
here, looking at some of the
play
problems
caller
with the NIL
and decision maker in college football. James Franklin will be on full display out there in the Rose Bowl.
Athletics. As 247 Sports reports, the NCAA seems to create some problems with its new NIL. Guys aren't getting paid. Reed said on a recent episode on The Block, they're not getting the money that they've been promised. In a lot of cases, they don't have adequate representation, so they're not able to defend themselves, as none of these are really legally binding contracts. They're all agreements, arrangements, and promises by brokers, businessmen, and friends of the program that set up these NIL deals to get these players in. And as I'm seeing, and what I think you're going to see a lot more through college football as this happens, is a lot of the schools that are going out and just paying the players, and the players that are going there specifically and exclusively and only for the money, these teams are not going to perform as well. And there's going to be a lot of problems of players coming in, players being promised a certain amount, players only receiving X amount when they were promised Y amount. And you'll see these players' money go down as team performance, where they expected teams to be very good by getting these high-paid and high-profile athletes come in like Texas A&M. Texas A&M underperformed to the most extreme degree imaginable, and you see these payments start to get stopped being paid to these players, and then you see these players start to sit out. You see these players transfer in droves, and you can see here, looking at Texas A&M as this catastrophe with the NIL free-for-all that will eventually work itself out, because people will get smarter to who they give money to, how they give money to, and why they give money to players, and the way they want to orchestrate and the way they want to do things. But this is the Wild West right now, as it's just started in its infancy in the first year or two of really NIL money going on. The 2022 season seen Texas A&M stumble and fumble and crash all over the football field for Coaches for Idiots, with their head coach, the most overpaid and one of the highest paid head coaches in college football, has done the worst job in college football. And it's amazing and a travesty that he still has a job down there in Aggie land, as the 2022 class that came in was the number one overall recruiting class. And as of now, and the season has just ended for these stumbling and fumbling team down there in Aggieville, 22 players have transferred, right? 22 players, a wide receiver, year sophomore, right? Another wide receiver, a junior, another wide receiver, a freshman, another defensive lineman, looks to be a junior, another redshirt junior linebacker, senior transfer, redshirt freshman out, redshirt freshman gone. And you're going to see this more and more happen when most of those players out of that recruiting class and most of them that are transferring out only went there for the money. And this is something that I wouldn't expect really to see at Ohio State, where they have a big booster, a big alumni base, and a rich alumni base, not having enough money and losing players like they just lost a 5-star quarterback, number 1 overall player in the 2024 rankings. They just lost to him because they don't have the NIL money that some of these Miamis are throwing out there with their billion-dollar boosters. Ohio State says they need $13 million just to keep their roster together for next season. That's craziness. It's the Wild West, and eventually this will calm down. And I believe you're going to see teams that are smart with their NIL money and still build a team with depth, with experience, and with talent will do better than teams like Texas A&M or what they're trying to do down in Miami and just buy their way to a championship. You've seen it didn't work out in Texas A&M. They're going to be more gun shy to throw out that money now. And I think schools like Miami that are trying to do the same thing, I think it's going to backfire in a similar spectacular fashion.
Is Georgia being overlooked? Is Georgia being undervalued? Is Georgia being disrespected as the defending national champions going into this college football playoff and their showdown with the Ohio State University Buckeyes, baby? And the simple and short and easy answer is no. They are not being overlooked. They are not being undervalued. They are not being disrespected, as everybody in the nation the whole season has had them primarily number 1. They're number 1 going into the playoffs. They're the odds-on favorite to win the national championship for the 2nd consecutive season. And essentially everybody in the college football world is picking the Georgia Bulldogs. Hit that subscribe button. Peace and love.